Well, welcome to our Colorado Proud webinar today. This is going to be fantastic. We have an expert in this field. We have Lacey Boggs, and today we're going to be talking about how to utilize emails and blogs to support your business. As you join us, mute your microphones. This will eliminate any background noise and make sure that Lacey can share all that she needs to. We encourage questions, and we'll ask for questions when she's done, but feel free to ask along the way. And if you come up with a question after the webinar, shoot me an email. I'm Barb Howe, and you can let me know and I can connect you to Lacey. So that's great. We're going to go ahead and get started. And Lacey is a content strategist. She's also the author of the best-selling Kindle ebook, Make a Killing with Content. She's also the mastermind behind the podcast, A Stone Marketing Detective. As the director of the Content Direction Agency, she helps small business owners create and implement content marketing strategy that feels like a playground for ideas and results in deceptively powerful content to create massive growth. Well, we're thrilled to have you, Lacey. Thanks for taking your time, and I turn it over to you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. Let me get so I didn't actually do slides for this one. I decided to just put together sort of a Notion document here. If you guys are not familiar with Notion, it's a lot of fun. You can do outlines and all kinds of things. And I'll actually share the link to it in the chat. And Barb, I don't know if you can share those after the fact, but there's the link to it. You can grab it. You can follow along with my notes, or you can look at it later. There's a few links in here that you can click on. But we're going to just go ahead and dive right in. So thank you for that lovely introduction. I am Lacey Boggs. I'll just give you a quick rundown of who I am and what I do. I am the director. My agency is called the Content Direction Agency. And I'm also currently the marketing director for a company called Run Like Clockwork. We help small and independent businesses become more efficient and create a business that runs like clockwork. And so I do their marketing for them. I'm what's known as a fractional marketing director, which means that I don't work for them full time. I'm not a W-2 employee, but I come in and I consult, and I'm there all the time now. You know what I mean? Like, I'm there all the time, but I'm not like a full-time position over there. So we still do some things through the Content Direction Agency. I've been running this business and doing marketing for about 12 years now. That feels weird to say. That's a long time, especially in internet land. Internet years are like dog years, right? They're like 7 years each. And before that, which is relevant to this conversation, I was a food writer. I was the food and beverage editor at Yellow Sea Magazine in Boulder County. And I did that for about 3 years, writing restaurant reviews and articles about food and stuff like that. Won some awards from the Society of Professional Journalists here in Colorado. And then I got pregnant, and working for a teeny tiny magazine, you're working like 60, 70 hours a week. We were there till like 3 a.m. on deadline. And I was like, that is not going to work with a baby, and went out on my own. And I started out as a food blogger, actually, because this was 2011 and everybody and their dog were food bloggers at that point. And I loved it. I was fairly successful for my food blog, but I wasn't making any money. And so I thought, well, I'm pretty good at this blogging thing. Maybe other people will pay me to blog for them. And thus, the Content Direction Agency was born. And yes, it turns out people would pay me to blog for them. And so in the intervening decade or so, I have spent thousands of hours studying online marketing and becoming an expert in specifically blogging and email marketing, which is under the umbrella of content marketing, right? So that is who I am and what I do. So why are we going to focus on blogs and emails for this session today? Because I know there's probably a few of you out there listening to this going, blogging, that's like so 2005. Who has a blog anymore, right? And some people, gosh, if I had a nickel for every time somebody said email marketing is dead, I would have enough to roll around in them like Scrooge McDuck, because that happens every other minute. But the truth is, email marketing is still dollar for dollar the most effective way to reach your customers and to get a return on your investment. So it's actually incredibly effective marketing. And in terms of like an investment, it's the best way to get a return on your investment. And blogging is still the very best way to help people find you on the internet, right? We'll talk about SEO a little bit later, but search engine optimization, blogging is the key to that. So while it may feel a little bit old school, it's still actually a very important part of your marketing plans. It is, as I said, under the umbrella of content marketing, which also includes things like podcasts, social media, could be white papers. For example, we did some freelancing for the company Cholaka a couple years ago, and they make chocolate products. And we here in Colorado, they're based here in Colorado. Obviously, they don't grow the chocolate here, but they make the products here. And we did some white papers for them that they could send to people who are interested in buying their products about their specific process, which is very different from other manufacturers. So that's what a white paper is. It's usually a little more technical, but content marketing is anything where you are creating content to be consumed by a person who you hope eventually becomes a customer, right? The second reason we want to focus on blogs and emails is we don't want to do what I have heard called digital sharecropping. And what that is where you are building your platform on somebody else's land. In other words, let's say you're on social media, you're building a platform on Facebook, and you get hundreds and hundreds of followers on Facebook. And you're like, this is amazing. Everybody I want to sell to is on my Facebook page. And then all of a sudden, Facebook changes the algorithm. They change the rules on you. And suddenly none of those thousands of people are seeing your posts. That's what this fun little meme here is about, right? Digital sharecropping is where you're building your platform on somebody else's land. So that would be like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, any of those. You don't own your audience on those platforms, so they can take it away at any point. I'm not against social media, but we just have to understand what it is and how to use it, right? Blogs and emails, you own the platform, right? Like even if you're using an email system like SendSpace or Constant Contact or whatever to send out your emails, you can download that list of email addresses and keep it, and you can move to a different platform. That is not true on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, etc., right? And finally, it's a really great way to reach your MVCs, which is your most valuable customers. And so you can think about who are your most valuable customers. They could be the end user of your products, but it might also be the store managers that are going to order it, or the people who are going to buy it for their regional market, or it could be the farmers market people that the directors of the farmers market, or whatever it is. They may not be the end customer, the end user, but your most valuable customers are actually looking for blogs and emails. So that's why these are so important. And Barb, if you have questions at any point, if I'm not being clear, please interrupt me.
Oh, thank you for that. That was really interesting.
Yeah, good. Okay. So let's talk about the power of blogging. In today's landscape, blogging is less about being, it used to be people could stumble across your blog, right? Like back in the Dear Dead days, we had things like blog rings and all this stuff, and people could just stumble across it. That's much less likely to happen today. But what it is, it's a great place to tell the search engines what you want to be found for, and then you can get stumbled across, right? So people aren't just going to necessarily stumble across your blog randomly. They're either going to come to your webpage looking for something specific, or they're going to be searching in Google or Bing or wherever for something specific. And that's how your blog gets you noticed, right? So let's talk about what's the difference between a website page and a blog. Typically, a website page is going to be much more static. So like your home page, your about page, maybe you have a page about your team or your story of your brand or whatever that might be, or like where people can buy your products. Those kinds of things are very static. They don't change very often. A blog, on the other hand, is going to be updated more frequently, and the content of your blog is going to be more specific, right? So a homepage has to encompass a lot of things. It has to be like this is who we are. And this is right. A blog post can be something very specific, like these are the farmers markets we're going to be at this season. These are the hours you can visit our farm stand. These are whatever it is, right? So that's the kind of the difference. The blog itself is updated more frequently, and a website page is more static. So let's talk about what kind of content goes on your blog, because I will tell you probably the number one question I get asked is, what do I blog about?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. What do you put on there? Obviously, you want to stay relevant, maybe to your what you're selling to your business, but
yeah, I mean, so this kind of depends on your brand. That's a really good point to pull out there, is to say, like, is it relevant to your brand? If you're like a family run farm and you want to post about the baby sheep that got born, or that you just got a new puppy, or what you're having for lunch, because that's part of your brand, do it.
Okay.
Like, that is fine. That's totally valuable. If you're a bigger producer, like I'm thinking, like maybe you're a beef ranch, right? It's a bigger producer. You may not have a single, like your brand may not be about a single family within that, but maybe you want to focus on different producers, different ranchers, or whatever. But the point is, we can think about a couple of different things. So who is your most valuable customer, and what do they care most about? So one of the biggest sort of oopsies I see early bloggers make is they will talk to their peers as opposed to talking to their end customer, or whoever that most valuable customer is. So again, like if you're, let's say, a beef ranch, maybe the person eating the beef is actually not your most valuable customer. You want to talk to the retailers that are going to carry it, for example, or the restaurant industry, or whatever it might be. But whoever your most valuable customer is, you want to think, what do they care about the most, right? So in theory, the restaurateur who's going to buy that beef, or the retail customer, or the end user might all have slightly different things that they care about, right? So when we think about who is the audience for this content, but who it's not is other ranchers, right?
Good point.
So we don't want to necessarily talk to our peers. We want to be thinking about who is our most valuable customer. And then what is your unique selling position in the market? So you have something that makes you unique from other people in your particular industry, right? Maybe it's specific agriculture practices you follow. Maybe it's your location, ingredients you use, the history, the land you're on. It could be any number of things, right? But there's something specific and unique about your products and your business. So that can help inform the kind of information you want to do as well. So here's another example. We did some consulting for Bubby's Pickles recently. And their unique selling position is that they are fermented, where most pickles use vinegar, right? So these are actually fermented pickles. They're good for your gut and all that stuff. So their blog would want to talk about all that sort of, like, they would want to educate people, probably the end user, about why a fermented pickle is better, right? Or different, or whatever. And finally, what do you want to be found for on search? So think again about who's your most valuable customer and what are they Googling? What are they searching for when they want to come across you? And those are the types of topics you want to be blogging about, because that's going to tell Google, hey, this is important and we want to come here. So I'm going to talk about SEO. Go ahead. What?
Oh, no, sorry. How often should somebody blog? Is that a once a week, or maybe, again, maybe it's just up to what you're offering, what your business really is.
Yeah, totally. So it used to be back in the day, they told you had to blog all the time, right? Blog once a week, blog once a day, whatever it was. Nowadays, it's more like blog when you have something to say. Blog when you want Google to take notice. Blog when there's something important to talk about. It's less about frequency and more about quality, in my opinion. So email's a little different, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But for blogging, I would say focus on quality, and however often you can produce a quality article for your website that you're proud to put up there, that's how often you should be blogging.
That's a good point. Yeah, thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, my pleasure. So since I brought up search, let's talk about SEO for just a second. And this usually makes people's head explode or their eyes cross. So I'm going to make it very, very simple. Okay. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. And essentially it's the practice of creating content that will get noticed by the search engines. And there are a ton of very like complicated, technical, specific things you can do. But what I want you to keep in mind is all you have to do is think about what you want to be found for and then write that article.
Okay.
And then use the phrase frequently in the article. So it should be in the title, it should be in any headings, it should be like, right? That is like SEO 101.
Okay.
The other little tip I can give you here is think about how your most valuable customer would phrase it, or what phrases they would use as opposed to what you would use as the expert in the space, right? Because they are not the expert. So they may search for something slightly different. They may phrase it slightly differently than you would as the expert. I've linked to a resource here. It's called Love at First Search. This is my friend Meg Casebolt. She's the person I refer people to anytime they need SEO help or support. And she has a lot of free resources. So SEO can be expensive if you hire a big fancy company. Meg is not that expensive. She's very reasonable, I feel like. She can do some of the research for you if you want. But she also has a ton of free resources or very low cost resources like courses and things if you want to learn how to do it yourself. But basically what you think about is what are they searching for? And then let's write an article about that. Okay. So here's a great example. Let's say you are whatever, a farmer, and you really want to drive people to your farmers market stalls, right? So you might decide to write an article about local farmers markets on the Front Range, Westminster farmers markets, Evergreen farmers markets, right? Because that's what people are searching for.
Right.
Then you can provide me some information about where are my local farmers markets to Westminster, and you can plug yourself, right? We are at these ones and you should come see us. And here's why we're great. So kind of thinking about what are people searching for that you want to be found for. Sometimes you go a little wider than just, oh, I sell peaches, right? Maybe it's a little wider than that. Like, where can I buy peaches at the farmer's market in Westminster? That kind of thing. But if you go check out my friend Meg's website, she gives you a lot of information about that. How often should you blog? We talked about that. I would say as often as you can produce a quality post. That was my answer. And how long is a blog post? I get this one a lot, especially when people are thinking about SEO. And it's kind of like asking how long is a piece of string because there's no one answer. What we know for sure is that if you want to rank high in Google search results for a particular phrase or particular search, Google is prioritizing what they would call like expert articles. So they are longer and more in depth. So they're at least 1,000 words or more. Now, I know people are going, oh, I can't write 1,000 words, but you can if it's really not as much as you think. It's about 4 pages, double spaced in a Word document. Okay. It's not that long. But the idea, so this goes back to how often can you produce a quality piece of content? Because you're not me. This is what I do all day long. You can't probably churn out 1,000 words every single day, right? That's not your job. Your job is to sell whatever you sell. But if you or someone on your team can commit to doing one of those twice a month, once a month, once a quarter, whatever is a good cadence for you, it's going to produce results over time. The other thing I want to say about SEO before we leave that behind is that it's a long game. So anything you're writing that you want to be found on search should be evergreen, meaning it shouldn't change that often. Let's go back to my example of the farmers markets. We know that those change every year, right? The start date, the end date, where it's located, whether it's open or not. You might decide if that's working well for you and you're getting a lot of traffic for that page, you might decide to update it every year. And Google loves that. Like update the same post every year with new information. Google eats that up. So if it's not totally evergreen, that's one way you can add. Like the other examples would be like your open hours of your farm stand, or what you're planting this year, or right, things that are good for a while but not
Sure.
forever. You can update them in the future.
That makes a lot of sense. Because things change.
Things
but,
change.
Hopefully your brand is staying the same. Maybe you've added a product, and that could be an interesting blog to share and get out there.
Yeah, exactly. Always want to do talking about new products, new things you're offering, new places that you're being sold, all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
I added this meme just because I thought it was funny. I think everybody can relate to that. So why should you consider having a blog? We're just going to sort of wrap this section up to be found. Love it for search. I love her branding. I helped her write her website, but it's that moment where you're like, oh, I found the answer to my question, and you're so happy about it. Love it for search. To connect with your most valuable customers, whoever they may be, and consider carefully who that audience is, and to stand out in your industry, because if you're actually producing a useful blog, you're probably going to be different than a lot of your competitors, because most people are not. So you will stand out. It's also really good for press, but that's a PR thing, and it's not really the purview of my talk today. Okay, let's talk about email marketing. We've got Adele here hiding from her emails. That's me on a Monday morning. So how is email different from blogging? This is a question I get a lot. What goes into an email versus on your blog, right? So people who are trying to do both often get confused. What goes in my email? What goes into my blog? There are a couple of things you can think about. So your email, let's think about concentric, is that the word? Concentric circles, like a target, right? So the biggest circle is people who are aware of you. Maybe they follow you on Instagram, or they've bought your products in the past, but they haven't committed. Actually, following isn't great. They run across a picture on Instagram or whatever, but they haven't yet committed to being a fan, right? Then the next one in would be maybe they follow you on Instagram or Facebook. The next one in would be they go to your blog or your website and they're looking at things. And then in the middle, we have the little circle, and that's people who subscribe to your emails. And then the target right in the middle is customers. Okay. So people are moving in those circles all the time. And our content marketing, the idea is to drive them toward that target, right? So email is a little more intimate. It's a little smaller subset of your people, right? So you may have people who buy your products, but they're never going to sign up for your emails because that's just who they are. Or they maybe come to your blog for some reason, but they still haven't signed up for your emails. Your emails are really close, and they're probably a lot of people are also customers, right? There's a lot of overlap there. So when you're thinking about what goes into an email newsletter versus your blog, it may be that you want to send more insider information, or it may be that you want to be speaking directly to customers, as opposed to maybe your blog is for leads, people who haven't become a customer yet, right? But email is like, oh no, you're a customer. You're real invested if you're getting my email about my beef or my peaches or whatever it is. Pickles. I really wanted to write the Bubby's newsletter because I was like, I feel like I could do a lot with a pickle. Think too about evergreen versus timely. So we talked for a minute there about how your blog should be more evergreen in general. Emails can be more timely. So emails can be like, we're running a special. The farm stand is closed today because of weather. We have way more peaches than we know what to do with this year, or not enough peaches, so you want to get your order in early, right? That's the kind of timely information that can go in an email. It's the idea of what's happening now versus what's always true. What's always true goes on the blog. What's happening now goes in the email. And you can cross-pollinate. So when you write a new blog post, go ahead and put that stuff in an email, because there's no reason not to, right? You're not worried about stealing readers or anything like that. So you write a great blog that you're proud of, put it in an email, or at least put a link and tell people, hey, I wrote this awesome blog that you should go. How often should you send an email? Email, I feel like, should be a little more often than blog posts. And here's why. Have you ever had the experience where you've signed up for somebody's email list and then you forget about it, and 6 months later you get an email and you're like, what the heck? When did I sign up for that? I don't want to hear about pickles. If you go too long without sending an email, people forget. They will unsubscribe. They might even mark you as spam, right? And that's the kiss of death for email sending, because the more you get marked as spam, the more often you'll be put in the spam box inside Gmail or whatever. So how often, go ahead, Barb.
It does happen a lot. All of a sudden,
does happen
like you get all these spam emails and you're like, oh yeah, I signed up for that 6 years ago.
Right.
So
and a lot of people
really
forget.
Good point. And you
forget that they signed up for something. Sure. So my advice is to do no less than once a month. And if you cannot commit to that right now, then maybe right now is not the time to start a newsletter, right? It's okay. There's no sin in that. But when you can commit to at least once a month, then you're in their inbox frequently enough that they're not going to forget who you are, and you can be effective with it. Any less than that, and the marketing effectiveness just goes down, right? You can do more than that. Gosh, if you've ever signed up for like Old Navy emails or Gap, they send you like every dang day. I wouldn't do that either, because I feel like people get sick of you.
Yeah.
But somewhere between once a week and once a month is the sweet spot. Also, when you have something important to talk about, like if you're running a big sale and it's a time limited thing, you can send more than you usually would, right? If I'm running, let's talk about Run Like Clockwork, for example, here. When we are opening up our certification for people to come and get certified in the Clockwork process, we send an email a day for at least 2 weeks. And we might send 3 or 4 on the last day, because people always wait to the last day to make a decision. So you can do the same thing when you're running a sale or a promotion, or if there's something really important going on. You're not going to get, you might get a few more unsubscribes than usual, but those weren't your people to begin with, right?
That's right.
Okay, so then how do you get people to join your email list, right? Like, okay, I'm going to send emails, but how do I get people on the email? First thing to know, it's not okay, it's not kosher to just add people without. I figure probably you guys know this, but let's say it out loud. Spam laws. So it's not okay to just add people. If you have a really old email list, this is a question I get a lot too, that you haven't been using for a while, you can import those new people into a new email list. But what I would do is, like, the very first email you send would say, hey, we're reviving this old email list. If you don't want to hear from us anymore, here's the unsubscribe link, and make it very obvious and very upfront about it, right? Because they already gave you permission once, that's cool. If you have, for example, a farm stand or a farmer's market booth or something like that, and you can put up a QR code, like you just click, with their phone. You can even take it old school, like by hand, and enter those people. But you want to put somewhere on the subscription page, the QR page, or on your piece of paper, yes, I'm giving you permission to send me emails, right? That's the biggie. But basically what people do is they do what's called a lead magnet, or some people call it an ethical bribe, but it's essentially a reason for them to sign up for work email. So you guys have seen this. It's like, join our email list now and you get 10% off your first order. That's an ethical bribe, right? So people do this all the time. Just about any major website you go to that's selling something will have this. It doesn't have to be a coupon though, if you don't want to. It could be like the ethical bribe could literally just be, we're giving you valuable information. Like if you figured out that you have something to say in your newsletter that's valuable to your most valuable customer, they might sign up just for that. Another thing could be like, I'm trying to think what this would be for food producers, but it could be like, oh, here's a good one. Like a download that they can get that's what's in season in Colorado. And it's like something pretty that they can print out and put on their fridge. That would be great for a farmer, right? When can I expect?
Sure.
Especially like if you had a CSA box or something like that, that would be really cool. When can I expect zucchini? When can I expect, right? Whatever you sell. So those sorts of things, it doesn't have to be a coupon. It frequently is, because that gets people's attention, but it could be something else that's valuable. I've made a link here. I have in my library, my product library, I have a workshop on lead magnet. So if that's something you're interested in, you can click on that link and get that workshop. And we talk all about how to figure out what they are, how to set them up, all that good stuff.
Fantastic.
All right, how's my time? Oh, I'm doing good. Okay.
You're doing great.
So how do we make all this happen? Like you're thinking, that's awesome, Lacey, but how do I actually make
Now
this
what?
happen and run my business at the same time, right? I love this editorial cartoon. It's one of my favorites. So the first thing I would say is, what is your content marketing strategy? Are you invested in making this happen? And if the answer is yes, then let's prioritize some things, right? Because everybody has a limited amount of time during the day. And I know that all of you, I can guess this because I am psychic like that. You're doing 75,000 other things. You wear 15 different hats in your business. You're the owner, you're the guy that drives the tractor, you're the person that does payroll, you're doing all of it, right? And you're probably also the marketing director. So let's be really cognizant of what you can and can't make happen today, right? Maybe you're watching this and you get really excited and you're like, I'm going to start a blog and an email newsletter and I'm going to do it all. I would say take it one step at a time. What is most important to you right now? Is it talking to that target in the middle, the people who are probably already customers and maybe you want to sell them more things or get them to be brand ambassadors for you, get them talking about your stuff? Or is it drawing in new people, which is probably more what the blog is going to do through search and things like that, right? Figure out what your priority is and be really realistic about what you can accomplish. Okay, I'm going to start a blog. I'm going to publish once a month for the next 6 months and see what happens, right? This is all a long game. You're not going to see your traffic go up 1,000% in the first month, most likely, right? But if you can see that little line ticking up and doing what it's supposed to do, you can decide whether it's a valuable time and effort in your business, right? That's what we always want to know. I've got another little link here. I have a product that's like, a marketing calendar that you can download. So if you are into this and you're like, yes, I'm ready to do this, I need to get organized, that's what that's for. Where does social media fit into all this? Talking about blogs and emails, but there's these other things like TikTok and whatever, maybe TikTok for a little while. I feel like social media is awesome when you know what you want it to do for you. And here's what I mean by that. Let's say you have a beautiful farm and you're on Instagram and you get 1,000 people following you on Instagram and they like your content and they're like, wow, your farm is so beautiful and your dogs are cute. And I wish I had a cute farmhouse like that. And I love your farm stand. Where do those 1,000 people live? Are they here in Colorado and they could come to your farm stand, or are they all over the world? Most likely, because of the way the Instagram algorithm works, they're all over the world, right? Now, if you can leverage that and get more traffic to your physical farm stand or whatever it is you're trying to sell, amazing, do that. But it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort. And it may or may not be worth we were talking this morning in a marketing meeting, is the juice worth the squeeze? A social media like does not equal a sale, right? So we have to ask ourselves, are those likes and follows and whatever, is that a vanity metric that makes me feel good? Because yeah, we get dopamine every time somebody likes that post, right? Or is it actually contributing to my bottom line? Only you can answer that question. I can't answer that question for you. There's always going to be the outlier that's like, oh, I started an Instagram, I went viral, and then, people buying my peaches quadrupled overnight. Amazing, do that. But it's really hard to replicate, right? Hard to catch that lightning in a bottle. To me, blogs and emails are more within our control. And so prioritize your channels. Like I said, we all have a very small amount of time during the day that we can dedicate to marketing. So prioritize what you think is going to get you the biggest bang for your buck. Who on your team should write your content? Maybe it's not you. Maybe it's not you. Maybe there's somebody that helps out, that's actually likes to write and wants to do this kind of thing. Maybe there's somebody that takes great pictures that can do that and add to your website. Maybe there's a teenager in your life, a college student who is more tech savvy, right? They're digital natives. They may be, now here's a word to the wise. They're probably more interested in TikTok or whatever than blogging. But if you can convince them that blogging and emails is valuable, but it doesn't necessarily have to be you, right? It can be something you outsource. How do we feel about AI? Because I know this is a question I get a lot too. If you're savvy at all, you've probably heard of ChatGPT. You've probably heard that it can write things for you. I have very mixed feelings about it as a writer. And here's where I've landed. ChatGPT and similar tools are really great for helping you get started. They are not great for producing the end product. So what I mean is, if you don't know what to write about and you're like, go to ChatGPT and be like, I want to write a blog post about farmers markets in the local area. I want to have it hopefully rank when people search for this term. Can you help me write an outline? Because I don't know what to say for 1,000 words. Yes, ChatGPT is really good at that. It will help you. But do not then ask it to write 1,000 words on farmers markets, because what you get will sound okay the first time you read it, but then the more you read it, you're going to be like, wait, that's not true. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. Wait, he said that already 15 times. It's not great. And the other thing to consider is, like, if you're writing a blog post, for example, with the idea of getting it ranked on Google, Google is changing the rules. So right now they've already said that if it's like obviously written by AI and not useful, it's going to get downgraded. So it's actually going to hurt you. It's going to hurt your search results. So what I would say is, use it for research, use it for ideas, get it to write your outline for you. You ask it things like, what makes a compelling newsletter? And it'll give you good information, but don't ask it to write the end product for you. It's not a great idea in the long run.
That's really good advice, because the AI is what's there, right? We know it's out there.
It is out of the box
all the time now, whether it's on the TV media, social media, that really pay attention to what's coming out at you, because it could
Also,
be inaccurate, because
inaccurate is the
written
biggie.
by AI.
But think about your brand too. Like, if you are a brand that's like natural, down to earth, Colorado soil, and then you put, for example, an image that's AI generated, what does that say? Is there a cognitive dissonance there?
It's a disconnect, isn't it?
Yeah. I have a good friend who is a children's book illustrator. And she pointed out that there was this big conference and award for children's book illustrators, and they had used AI to generate the image for the awards, like to get people to come to the conference. And I was like, that is such a horrible thing for their brand, because those artists are no longer going to trust them, right? So if you think, I'm just going to go to AI and get a beautiful picture of fields of peach trees. I keep going on peaches, sorry. And then somebody figures out that that's not real, it's not really your farm. What's that going to do to your brand? So consider that. I mean, it's real. It's a real problem.
It's very good advice.
Should you outsource? The answer is maybe you should. If you've decided that this is a priority in your business, it's something you need to do, then, hiring an expert can really be helpful. But I thought I would just give some definitions really quickly so people know kind of things. So a copywriter is the person who's literally going to write the words for you, for your blog or your email, but they're not necessarily going to be able to do the technology. So if you want somebody to write your email newsletter and you hire a copywriter, that's amazing. But then they may not have the skills, or it may not be part of their package. They may just not want to then take that copy and put it in the thing that actually sends out the email, right? So that those might be two different things. A social media manager is usually the person who's literally posting, taking the images. They may also write the captions. But what you want to be asking there is, are they doing strategy, or are they just doing what you tell them to do? You're going to pay more for a strategist, obviously. I hope, obviously, because they have a bigger picture. Some people call themselves a social media manager, and literally all they do is manage the posts. Right. And there's no bigger strategy behind it. So be sure to ask. Same is true for copywriter. Like, you might ask, do you do marketing strategy, or do you just write the words I tell you to write? There's two different And then a marketing agency is usually multiple people, right, under one roof. And so they may have somebody who does the writing, somebody who does the graphics, somebody who puts it in your email for you, somebody who does the strategy, right? And again, you're going to pay more because there's more overhead, more people, but you get a more comprehensive package. Also, just as a side note, you can always ask for samples when you're hiring somebody for this. Even if you're hiring like a virtual assistant, somebody, or that college kid I was talking about. You can ask for samples. You can ask them to do a test project. It is generally accepted that you would pay for a test project, but the idea being you're not signing a contract yet, right? So in my marketing agency, we might do a test blog post for somebody or a test email, and we would only charge them for that one discrete piece. Whereas normally you would be signing a contract where it's like, we're going to do this amount of content for you for 6 months or whatever it is. But you can try before you buy, is what I want. A lot of people don't know that. They're not in the. All right. So that's pretty much where we're at. I do want to give a little plug. I have a bunch of free resources. If you go to members.lacyboggs.com, what you'll see is this Leadership Marketers Library. There's a bunch of stuff in there, but this one's free. You just sign up, give me your email address for free. Hey, it's a lead magnet. Yeah. And then there's so many resources because I've been adding to this thing for 12 years. So it's really like, if you were to go through the whole thing step by step, it is a comprehensive, here's how to digital market kind of course. But there's lots of things you can just jump around to. Like, I don't know how to make a calendar. What does a blog post look like? There's like a template for here's how to write a blog post, all kinds of things. So if you want some of those free resources, head over there, click on that really cute picture of me, and you can get all those free resources.
Well, that's
talked a lot.
That was a really nice way to do that too, as an outline. I like that.
Yeah. Right. So, and remember, Barb's got the link now. So if you want to go back and look at this outline and have the clickable, or just want to look at my cute memes, you can do that as well.
No, thank you for that. And I plan on, when we post this, we can put it in kind of the description. So people can say, oh, okay, great. We can go to
follow along.
Well, I mean, that's fantastic. Is there anything else that kind of comes to mind for, maybe some of our Colorado Proud members are just getting started. They've got a great idea. Maybe they're, a baker, or they're making some really cool food or a natural wellness product. Is there some kind of advice you might want to give them as they think about what to do here?
Yeah. Keep it simple. Start with a website so that you have a presence, right? Because we Google everything these days, right? So if I see you at a farmer's market or whatever, I'm going to want to go Google you and see what else, or, if I see your bakery product somewhere, I'm going to want to go Google and see what else is there. And then as you grow, I would say consider, which is more important to you, getting found on Google, which would be your blog, or communicating with people that have expressed an interest, which is your newsletter. And then put your energy in one of those two places. I will say, in terms of investment, if you already have a website, you can probably add a blog for free. Like, you don't, like, adding those pages doesn't cost extra money. You might need your developer or somebody to just turn it on. But especially if you have like a WordPress website or a Squarespace, there are little things you just toggle on and then you have a blog. It's free. An email, you will need like what's called a CRM. And that's like MailChimp or Constant Contact or one of those, right? A lot of them have free starter plans. So you can start for free. And then the way it works usually is that once you hit a certain threshold of subscribers, then you have to start to pay. But it's usually worth it, right? At that point, because if you've got 1,000 people or 1,500 people or whatever their threshold is, hey, it's worth it to be able to keep talking to those people.
Well, to your point, there's a reason that companies, like we're saying, Old Navy, Gap, things like that, send you emails.
Yeah.
Some of them work, and it'll make, you're a customer, you've bought from them in the past, you'll click on it. Oh, that's a good sale on t-shirts. Great. So
on average, email will turn a return on investment of $6 for every dollar you invest.
Yeah. And that's incredible.
That's huge. Show me another place you can get that kind of ROI, because I don't know.
No, it's huge. And we all live on our phones / computers, and it's just the way of the world, isn't it? So it's really good advice 100%. To think about doing that.
Yeah. You mentioned bakeries. There's one near me. There's a lady she's called the Arvada Bread Barn. And she literally has a little barn that she bakes out of. And when you sign up for her email list, she tells you when she's going to be selling, and you can make an order so you can pick it up from the bread barn, right?
Yep.
So it's become important for her to be able to, she's so tiny. She's like a cottage business.
Sure.
You have to put in an order so you can pick it up on Friday and get your sourdough or whatever. And so that email is her lifeline to her customers.
Sure. Yeah. Place in an order like that, and she can keep track of who's coming and what they've purchased. Right. That's very cool. And you can use the social media aspects to promote all of this, right? Certainly you could say, hey, check out our blog, check out, subscribe now and save XYZ, or
100%
subscribe now to our email and stay up to date on what we're doing. Kind of
right.
thing.
I've even seen people say, hey, the algorithm doesn't show you all of my posts, so be sure you get on my email.
Yeah.
That is true, right?
No, it's really good point. So wow.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you can commit to, like, if you love Instagram and you're always on there and you can commit to it, do it. Like, yay, all the marketing channels, but don't feel like you have to if you're just starting out. You don't have to be everywhere. Prioritize, pick what you have the space for.
Yeah, and be intentional, right? You kind of started out with that. Just be intentional. You cannot do everything every day, every minute. And you are more than just your business. You are the business owner, your marketing, your sales, your production, your logistics.
100%.
And you have your personal life and all of those things. I mean, yes, your business is incredibly important. You just have to be intentional about where you put that energy, and then you get the best return for that. Well, that was fantastic. I want to thank you so much for joining us. I'm really hoping our Colorado Proud members reach out to you and go to members.lacyboggs.com. And there's some great free resources, but also some great content to connect with Lacey and take one of her courses, learn more about what this can really do for your business. Colorado Proud members, join us in a few weeks for our next podcast, where we will be talking to the company Full Good Fulfillment. As your business grows, you need to start thinking about preparing to expand your distribution. And the Full Good Fulfillment team is truly obsessed with solving their clients' toughest logistics problems. So listen in on Cultivation Station for that. And Lacey, thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day.
My pleasure. Thank you.